I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible. This repair is specific to a Samsung refrigerator with a flex drawer. So this would be specific to a RF28JBEDBSG/AA refrigerator. This refrigerator has a flex drawer, and the first thing you'll notice, if the flex drawer control stops working, that's because a cable has now been flexed enough that it's broken. Underneath the flex drawer is also the light for the freezer. So that was the first thing that went out. I replaced the LED, but that didn't fix it because the cable was the problem. The drawer itself lifts out very easy. The front of the door comes off with 2 bolts. The cable actually is on the right rail, and you can see, if you look further in here, that the black cable there moves every time you move the door in and out. And the existing cable broke right where this white spot is, just to the left of the Phillips screw. That's where the cable flexed until it finally broke. This is the actual part number, DA96-0064A. This is the bag the part came in with the dealer repairman. The dealer charged me $140 for the cable, about $260 for the installation total, but the cable's available on Amazon for $119.48 right now, and you can see the number there, so you can order one. I'm doing this video because I thought $140 was ridiculous and $110 is still too much. So since I have the old cable, you can see I've prepped it for soldering. If you don't know how to solder and have never done anything like this, you probably don't want to watch the rest of this video. I'm not going to show you soldering. I'm going to show you just basically how I did it. There are 8 wires, so each one is color coded, and you want to stagger your wires so when you solder them you won't have a big lump in the middle. You can spread out the soldered joints. I've also pre-slipped on shrink wrap tubing on the main wires, and I will shrink wrap each of the individual wires as I solder it with a small piece of shrink wrap. So I'm going to do the orange one first. This really just required a pencil soldering gun, some rosin, and I happen to have a whole kit of shrink wrap with a lot of little tubes. So the first wire, the yellow one, I've got twisted together, and now I'll solder it. There it is after solder applied, and now all I have to do is slide the shrink wrap over it and seal it. There's the yellow wire shrink wrapped. I used a low flame on a igniter. You can use a heat gun as well, but either will work. I'd say the hardest part with my old fingers is getting the wires twisted around each other nicely. So there's 4 of the 8 wires soldered and sealed with shrink wrap. Just a couple little pointers. When you solder, don't get big globs of solder on, and you can use the pliers to kind of make sure that that joint is flat. Tug on it a little bit before you shrink wrap it. So there's all 8 wires soldered and shrink wrapped. I thought the whole cable would be an inch shorter because I've cut off only about a ½ inch on either wire, but we'll see when I get it back together. So here's the final junction. I am a little surprised. This is how much of the outer cable housing I had to cut off, which kind of surprised me. I also had to get rid of the rope supports. I cut all of them, like I say, a ½ inch, and just staggered them. So I'm thinking this will probably work. It's my backup, but when I put it in, the question will be, is that a few inches going to be a problem in terms of the length of the cable? So when you do this, you may want to splice in extra wire, possibly to make sure that the lengths come out correctly. But this is just a backup, so I'm going to put it away until I need it. But anyway, it gives you some idea about how you can fix this without spending $260 if you're handy with a soldering gun and not afraid of taking apart a little bit of your fridge. By the way, none of the wires, this rail wire, requires you access the back of the fridge. You can do it directly from the right rail of the flex drawer. Just take the drawer front off, take the rails out. It all comes apart pretty obviously. The technician did it in 30 minutes. Good luck.